All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is TOEFL IBT writing section week 6. Welcome to the lesson. The aim of this session is a review of last week's lesson, followed by going through some practice to improve your writing skills, and I'll explain the homework. So last week we talked about there are two different type of connective words and what they are. So just to review, while I went through the examples with you, I also shared the file with you in Telegram, and I hope that you have read it. These are a number of questions that you should be able to read it and decide what is the connective word and what type it is. So for example, she was tired, but she finished her homework. What is the connective word? So the connective word in here is but. Then the challenge is not to just identify, but to be able to relate it to the two different types that we discussed. So there are 10 examples, and I'm hoping that you should be able to answer each and every one of this. And if not, the answers are in the next slide. And the first one is but, yes, and it is coordinating. Number 2, the connective word is because, it is subordinating. If you remember, we said the difference, there's a difference. Connector, one is coordinating, one is subordinating. Coordinating when they are equal, but subordinating when one, there's a clause and one takes over the other. So that is a difference, and I hope that you'll be able to review. This will give you a better place in your speaking and in your writing, because it's allows you to use different words to extend, to increase your word count, and flow your sentences, your paragraphs much better. So this week I have decided to concentrate on academic discussions writing. The reason for that is because last week's your submissions had me a little bit worried. So therefore I wanted to give you another detailed study on this to see if this is going to be helping you. So if you remember, for the academic discussions, there's always the professor that is going to come and express his or her opinion, followed by opinions of two other individuals. So in this case, the professor says that in class today, we are going to talk about grading students. Before you come to class, I want you to think about whether grades are beneficial. On one hand, they provide a way to measure a student's progress. On the other hand, some argue that grades are too focused on performance and don't provide an accurate picture of a student's overall academic abilities. If you had to choose, would you say the students should be given grades or not? Why? Leila as opinions says, I think that the students should not be given grades. Grades create needlessly competitive environment and can make students feel like they only valued for their academic performance. When students feel that grades are the most important thing, they get discouraged, and instead given specific grades, teachers should provide personal feedback that helps the students understand what they need to improve and how they can do it. I think that approach leads to more academic success. What does Jack say? Jack says, I believe that grades are the only way for students to understand how well they are going, and the only way to motivate them to work harder. Without grades, there will be no way to measure their progress or to identify areas where they need to improve. Moreover, grades prepare students for the real world where they would be judged based on their performance. The only way for adults to advance in their careers is to consistently perform well, and grades children prepare them for that. So this was coming from TOEFL IBT website, and the following next few slides are going to show you examples of students' essays. Essay number 1. While I appreciate Leila's point of view, I believe that children should be given grades on a regular basis. Even young kids want to improve academically, and grades helps them do so. Remember that the students are aware that they must develop strong academic skills if they want to achieve their goals in life. Grades indicate the current level of their skills and tell them whether or not they should change how they approach their studies. For instance, a student who has received a fantastic grades in maths and a poor grades in science will need to spend more of his free time studying science. In contrast, a student who hasn't gotten any grade will have no idea what to focus on. Just pay attention to see that why have I tried to highlight by making certain words bold, and I hope that you will learn something from that. While this is essay number 2 by different students. While this is certainly a controversial topic, I don't think students should be graded. I strongly agree with Leila's idea that grades can create an overly competitive environment and may not accurately reflect a student's progress. I would add that grades can lead to a focus on test-taking strategies rather than actually learning, and as a result, students may not fully engage with the material. This means they could lack key knowledge that they will need when they move on to the next stage of their academic life. Jack raised the relevant point that grades are the only way to identify the specific areas where students are weak, but he didn't mention that teachers can study samples of their work, students' work, to find their weakness without actually grading their work. For example, they could look at the student's essay, say that he is weak, and when it is come to grammar, and tell that in person. Let's see essay number 3. I agree with Leila's perspective that the students should not be given grades. Grades often create a stressful, competitive environment that prioritizes performance over learning. This focus can lead students to associate their self-worth with numerical scores, discouraging those who struggle and hindering their overall academic growth. Personalized feedback, as Leila suggests, is a more effective approach. It allows teachers to highlight students' strengths and address their weakness constructively, fostering a deeper understanding of the material. This method encourages the students to focus on improvement rather than comparison, leading to more meaningful and lasting academic success. So on this one, I did not highlight. I'm sure that if I ask you, you will notice that there are very good ideas and phrases to help you. I agree with Jake's perspective that grades are essential for students. This is essay number 4. Grades provide a clear and measurable way to track progress, helping students understand their strength and area needing improvement. They also serve as motivation, pushing students to work harder and achieve their goals. Furthermore, grades prepare students for the realities of the professional world, where performance evaluation determines advancement. Without grades, students may lack a structured way to gauge their effort and readiness for future challenges. While feedback is important, grades offer a concise summary of performance, making them indispensable in education. And notice that when I give you feedback, I do both. I give you a score and I also give you detailed feedback on your weakness, on your strength, and then on your weakness, I tend to give a little bit more. The reason I have decided to give you the score because TOEFL IBT does score. But if you don't want me to score you, but would rather go with just the feedback, let me know and I'm happy to not give you the score. Now for this week, I've chosen academic writing again, and the topic is website reliability. I also think it's very important. It's very important um, uh, for you because I want you to read and build your general knowledge. So your general knowledge is going to be most important here for the academic writing. Why? Because they're asking for your opinion. Now, when you are doing this, if you are using sources that is not reliable, that's going to be make your job a little bit difficult and tough. So I don't want to say more than that because I'm looking forward for your essay for this week. The professor says, next week, we're going to discuss the best way to determine if a website or article is reliable. There are many factors to consider in order to ensure that your essays are supported by reliable sources. Before we meet, I want you to consider the following questions. What do you think is the most effective way to assess whether a website or article can be trusted? Laura says, I think the best way is to look for stronger evidence and sources. A reliable article should cite credible studies, data, or expert opinions. If the author claims are backed by verifiable information and come from trustworthy institutions like a university or academic publisher, it's good sign the website or article can be trusted. Caleb, on the other hand, says, I believe the author credibility is the most important. If the writer has expertise or professional experience related to the topic, it's more likely the content is accurate. For instance, I trust article written by scientists about health topics more than random blogs. Checking the author's background is crucial first step. So I am looking forward for you to write your essay and answer the questions. But just remember, based on the example that I provide you, please do refer to ideas that Laura and Caleb says. Remember, you're going to be writing your essay and it has to be between 100 to 150 words. Reason that I am pushing you a little bit other, though the TOEFL IBT is 100, I am encouraging you to write more than 100, make it between 100 and 150, so that your capability is pushed and improved. And remember also to time yourself as you're doing it, and looking forward for you to send it on my email. I'll be happy to read and provide feedback. If you have any questions, you can ask, and I'll come back to you. And at the same time, I will stop the recording.